Hi guys, this lesson is on section 5.3, which is function rules, tables, and graphs. Should be a pretty fast lesson, so I'll try to get through this pretty quickly. There's two types of data before we get into graphing. There's continuous data and discrete data. So just by definition, continuous data, you're going to have like a line graph, which will look something like this. Whereas discrete data, it'll be points, which will look something like this. The line graph or continuous would be something that increases over time, such as time, height, temperature. So between these lines here, you're going to have some kind of movement. Whereas discrete data is going to be whole numbers, like number of people or number of cars. For example, the number of people at Disneyland on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Because you can't have any lines between it. There's not going to be any data between Monday or Tuesday. You just have dots. Okay, so that's the difference between continuous, which is like a continuous line, or discrete, which is going to be points or whole numbers. Okay, now getting into graphs. On the agenda, I said this, but I put it again here so you can remember. If you have y equals 3x minus 2, or just x by itself, I want 3 points for your graph. Okay, but if you have absolute value graph or an x squared graph like this one, where you can see the x squared, I want 5 points. Okay, so I'm going to do these two first and then I'll get back to the other one. Okay, so on this one, y is equal to 3x minus 2. All you do is do a xy table, and if I were you, I would use the easy numbers like -1, 0, and 1. You get to choose the three numbers you want for x. Choose easy numbers, but you always want 0 as one of them. Okay, so if I stick in a -1 into there, I get -3 minus 2, which is -5. If I put a 0 in there, I get 0 minus 2, which is -2. And if I put a 1 in for x, I get 3 minus 2, which is 1. Okay, these are my points if you think about it. This is my x coordinate, this is my y coordinate. So you can think of it as having points. So what I want to do now is graph -1, comma -5. So -1, -5 is way over here. Then I want to do 0, -2, which is over here. And then I want to go 1, 1, which is here. Okay, and when you graph this line, it should be a straight line. Okay, so when you have a 3x minus 2 like this, that's going to be what's called a linear equation, and your graph should be a line. Okay, so again, this is going to be a linear equation, and you can see it's going to be a line when you graph it. Okay, so 3 points. I would use -1, 0, and 1, or 0, 1, 2, but those three are better. On this one, you have absolute value equation. If I were you, I'd use easy numbers like -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay. I usually start from the 0 because that's the easiest one. If I put a 0 in there, I can see that I'm going to get a 1. Okay. And then if I put a 1, you can go either way, but I usually go with the positive number first. If I put a 1, I get 2 plus 1, which is 3. And if I put a 2 in there, I get 4 plus 1, which is 5. Okay. If I put a -1 in there, I get the absolute value of -2, which is 2, plus 1, which is still 3. And if I put a -2 in there, I get a -4. Absolute value makes it +4, plus 1, which is 5. You can see that these numbers are the same. And this is what's going to be called your vertex. It's where the bottom of the V or top of the V. When you have absolute value, you are going to get a V. Just think of value with the V. Okay, so when I graph it over here, and I can see the shades on this way, or they glare. When I graph it, -2, 5. Oh, it's glary too as well. -2, 5 is here. -1, 3 is here. 0, 1 is here. 1, 3 is here. 2, 5 is here. When you graph it, oops, and I missed it. Make sure you get a V, okay? Don't try to round it off into a U. Absolute value is going to be a V. Absolute, just think of absolute value V, okay? And then this bottom part is called that's your vertex, which is also over here. This is going to be your vertex. Okay, so 5 points, use -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. If by chance you start doing a graph, and if you use the -2, -1, you keep going this way and you go past the line and you see that it's still going down, then you're gonna have to keep going this way. You might have to go 3, 4, 5 over here until you find where that V is. Okay, so make sure you keep going until you find this bottom of the V or the vertex. Okay, so you can start with -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, but then keep going until you find that V. Okay, for this one here, this is going to be a U. It's called a quadratic. If it's a square, this is the absolute value. This is going to be called a quadratic equation. Okay, and it's because it has this square in it. Okay, a quadratic equation is going to be a U versus a V. Okay, so again, I would use -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. I start with the 0 squared is 0, and you get -4. If I put a 1 in there, 1 squared is 1, -4 is -3. 2 squared is 4, -4 is 0. If I put a -1 into there, that's like saying -1 squared minus 4. -1 in parentheses squared is -1 times -1, which is 1, minus 4, which is going to be -3. Okay. And then same with -2. If I put the -2 in there, it becomes 4 minus 4, which is 0. And again, I can see these are the same, so this is going to be my vertex, but it's going to be a U. So when I graph it, I'm going to get -2, comma 0, -1, comma -3, 0, comma -4, 1, comma -3, and 2, comma 0. Okay. Now you can see that this one is not the same as a V. It's going to be a U. So make sure you U this one, and make sure you put the arrows so that you make it continuous. So you can see the V's have arrows and the U's have arrows. So again, the difference between a V and a U. Okay, make sure you know that. You can see Kayla's little picture there for you guys. Okay, so here is your homework check, number 1 and number 2. Homework check number 1. Find the range, which is also the output or the y coordinates. So the equation is y is equal to -3x plus 1. I want these 3 inputs. You're going to tell me these 3 outputs. So I want you to tell me what this is going to be, what this is going to be, and what this is going to be. Okay, so 3 outputs. Homework check number 2. What picture did Kayla draw for you on the board? Should be pretty simple. So that's section 5.3.